Yeah. Hey, I've just got one more question, and that is when I read through your blogs, most of the time I want to say you use, when referring to yourself, you use a small I instead of a capital I. That's a decision, I'm assuming?
Yeah, boy, you are perceptive, Frank.
Well,
You and
I
your
know my
skills.
alphabet.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've always been like, I have to be really careful about how I perceive myself.
I hear you.
You know,
I hear you.
that's why I'm always really careful in interviews, especially things like this that live eternally on the worldwide internet, because I just don't. I want to be really careful because I'm a very opinionated and passionate dude, and so I have to be really careful that what I say are things that I really feel and aren't something I'm frustrated about at the time.
Right.
And that doesn't speak to the little I as much as I think what it does speak to is I do have to take myself with a grain of salt, and I have to be, so I think the little I in some, whatever way it would be is kind of it's like good. It's good for me to do, and it's good for me to see, because it's like I have to take myself,
Right.
non-capitalized.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. No, I've noticed throughout the stuff that I've put on the listenin.org website, sometimes I have a capital F for Frank, and sometimes I have a small F, and I go, maybe that's just the way I was feeling that day. But I always thought I should do a small F, and then you start hearing somebody talk. Well, if you really feel positive about yourself and you're on the same level as Dave, then shouldn't you be capitalized too? And then I start going through this blah 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 yak yak yak, and I go. So I happen to notice it with you, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't mean to bang your balls about it too much, other than just sort of the thought, because obviously
No, that's good. No, it's a great question.
because we all have those little things that in my head are just sort of little bitty identifiers of who we are and what we think of ourselves and how we want to be perceived too. Because I don't want to be perceived that I have a huge ego, but I probably have a pretty big ego. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I've got questions to ask you that are more important than other people's questions for you.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
You
for
know,
sure.
so that kind of stuff. So anyway, but I love talking to you.
But
Go
you know
ahead.
what I will say, I think the great thing I think the great thing about that though is I think anytime that we are cognizant of ourselves in healthy ways, it's such a sign of health in ways other than how great am I or how terrible am I, but just like, what am I? Am I sure that I'm communicating these ideas clearly, that people are going to, as best they can, get the right impression of how I feel? And it's a funny season of life for me as an artist, because I feel like, having done this 10 to 12 years, I don't want to be too bold. It's not that I have the right to say things, but I think my fans have the right to hear me be
Yeah.
honest. That's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
And I think I would be disappointed if I was listening to an interview with somebody like Harry Connick, or somebody that I really love who's been doing it for a lot longer than I have, and them go, "What's it like being however old you are and doing music now?" And him be like, "It's the
Right.
best." I mean, literally, every time I get down at the piano, sit down upright, it's an amazing song. But I'm gonna be like, I don't know if that's authentic, as opposed to him going, man, the more you write, the harder it gets. And the road is like this now, and man, my friends are like this, and my marriage has been really interesting, because like I have to go back out and play now, whatever. Like, all of a sudden I'm like, man, this is engaging, because I struggle with things and he struggles with things that make us human. And that's where we relate. And so for me, I've just had to. I'm not really good at not that I'm not good at being honest, but I think in forums like this where I'm like, man, I really don't want to be misconstrued. I don't want it to be something that people go, man, does he not appreciate what he does, or is he not? But the truth is, honestly, where I am in my mid-30s, trying to figure out how to still be an artist and still sell records, and that's really hard today. And it's hard for everybody, and that's what's oddly encouraging. But it's still like, and it's our cyclical conversation going back to where we started. It's that thing on Twitter where it's encouraging for me to see that people go, wow, you don't get paid as much in the ways that I'm listening to Dave's music, and maybe I need to buy the record or whatever, and that's for everybody to figure out on themselves. But, that is where I am. And so for me to get on here and not be authentic to that, it just doesn't feel right. And so I think, it's a weird struggle to have to sort of traverse in the season I'm in, because I wouldn't have said that stuff 10 years ago.
I just think transparency, i.e. honesty, is what resonates with people. And whether it is making 0.00019 cents per song, or getting a $7,000 check for the song being played once, right? I mean, and put it in context. I got that for 2 months worth of not getting any other money or whatever, right? And it's those sort of things that, because I still think people, including me, sometimes go, "You're a freaking rock star, man. You got a house and you got a mortgage and you got a wife and kids and you get to go home and then you get to go on the road and be a rock star and then you get to go back and you know what I mean? I mean, it's just so easy to think that because I don't care. Even my neighbors who work on the factory line, right? I think their life is better than mine.
Yeah.
you know? And so there's that sort of thing. And it's when you have some sort of spotlight on you when you're working, like on stage, you go, well, obviously that person has it all together because, wow, you wrote the song good. You wrote something more. You know, I mean, you got it together as a husband and a dad. Instead, you're a guy. You've got problems. You're struggling, trying to figure out how to make it through the next 10 years, if not 10 weeks, right? So I don't know, dude. I just love talking to you, and I appreciate the work you put into your work.
Yeah. Well, thank you for caring.
And all this stuff. So, anyway.